it's essential to recognize the deep influence they have beyond the playing field. The intersection of sports and social procurement opens a gateway to harnessing the economic power of sports for the greater good. In collaboration with Yunus Sports Hub, we're about to explore how strategic decisions in sports procurement can contribute to building a more sustainable, inclusive, and equitable world. And this is through our one-on-one chat with an exceptional mastermind who will share with us his knowledge, experience, and visions for leveraging the economic influence of sports to foster positive change.
Okay, so my name is Noguier. I'm the co-founder and managing director of Yunus Sports Hub. I take care with Professor Yunus about the inclusion of the social business ecosystem within the sport industry. And today we're going to talk about social procurement in sports. But just before that, what I would like to do is give a bit of a context and say actually thank you to the sport industry. The first reason is that the sport industry is one of the only one that is able to catch the attention of at least half the planet at the same time. On my side, I cannot even catch the attention of my kids for more than 5 minutes, so it's a big achievement. And on the other side, you have been building through your work in the sport industry something that is extremely important, which is a huge economic power. The sport industry is a $3 trillion business. And when there is economic power, there is also purchasing power. And when there is purchasing power, there is a tremendous opportunity to make a difference in people's lives. And that's exactly the topic of today's discussion, that's social procurement, which is basically the fact of using procurement as a way to create social or environmental value. And we have with us Professor Muhammad Yunus with us. Thanks for being here, Professor Yunus.
Thank you.
Professor Yunus is, as was mentioned, the Peace Nobel laureate for creating microcredit and social business. And I will already jump into the questions of this panel and set a bit the context of this discussion, Professor Yunus, and start by asking you, can you give us a bit of the context of who you are and what is microcredit that you have created?
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. About the social power, about the sports. It's an unutilized power. Sports, the issue that we have been raising, that it has used part of its commercial power and part of its entertainment power, but the whole social power remains unutilized. That's the issue that we try to raise, and we try to explain how this power can be utilized. These ideas are connected with each other, that we have been doing our work back from 1972, 73. I was a young teacher at the university, teaching economics. And Bangladesh situation at that time was terrible poverty, destitution. 86% of the population of Bangladesh was under poverty line. So you can imagine that the whole country was under poverty line. And then it got worse. I thought we hit the bottom. Then when we saw that it's not the bottom yet, bottom to come. In 1974, we have the terrible famine in the country. People dying on the street. Literally, you see dead bodies on the street. Not because any disease, not because of any war, just because people didn't have enough to eat. It's a terrible thing to see and live through that. So seeing this from the eyes of a young teacher who had great ideas about what need to be done for the country and so on and so forth, suddenly abandoned everything. That we are not capable of doing anything, even cannot save human being from death by starvation. So I was blaming the subject that I learned in school, economics. That's what I did, that's what I teach. And I keep saying that the thing that I learned in school, the thing that I teach in my classroom, these are all empty words, useless words, just to keep us busy with some job. It has no meaning in the life of the people. And we became useless when it comes to be of help to anybody else. So I was trying to see if I can make myself some way, even a tiny bit useful to another person. Not the whole country, not the whole district or city, just another person. So in that effort, I just started going to the village next door, full of poverty, full of starvations and so on, but next to the university campus. It's an amazing situation. It's a beautiful campus. It's a new campus built. Is as good, as beautiful as any campus anywhere in the world. But right after that boundary line, we have destitution, poverty, ill health, and everything else. So I said, how do we break this through to go out of that boundary line and make us see the reality of life? So I said, okay, university can do whatever it does, but I want to see if I can find a way to make myself useful to at least one person. Because I have no use for myself, so at least if I can be useful to another person, that would be a good start. So I started doing that. In the process, I learned a lot about people, about poverty and so on, just being with them. It's not a research project or anything. And I did a lot of little things. Because every day I go, I want to make sure that I do something to help another person, even in the tiniest way. And that made me feel a little bit better as we got to know them. But one issue kept coming back. People need some little money for survival, for start something they're doing, but carry on their business or whatever they are doing. They go to the loan shark, and loan shark in the process take away everything from them. So one idea I came up with, can I protect the victims of loan shark, at least 1%? So that's the idea that came at how to protect a victim of a loan shark. I thought it's very easy. That person goes to the loan shark because he or she needs money. If I give the money instead of loan shark, then the problem for this person is solved because loan shark cannot touch him anymore. So I have protected this person. So that idea started explaining to people, if you need money, why don't you come to me? See if I can help you. I can give you the money. Don't go to the people who are already doing that in a terrible way. Initially, they were reluctant. They don't know what my motive is. They were doubting my motive. I said, it's okay. It's up to you to decide. Then some people came forward, took my money from me, and it became gradually very popular. Everybody wants to take money. It's so easy. It doesn't take away anything from you. And I was very excited that at least I have protected some people from the loan shark. So that was the beginning of the whole idea. Then I got into controversy with the banks. When I went to the bank, I said, I can go only that far in giving money. My money is limited. Why don't you give the money to the poor people they need? Banks immediately rejected. No, that's not our job. Our job is to finance people who has money, who has businesses, and so on. So I had a lot of kind of controversial relationship with them. I accused them. I said, you transform the whole banking system upside down. But to me, a bank should be someone who gives money to people to do business with them and so on. But you do it in a very strange way. You lend money to people who already have lots of money. And you don't lend money to people who don't have money at all. I thought the real banking should be the other way around. It starts with lending money to people who don't have money and gradually go to the people who don't have money. They laughed at me. That's not banking. I said, that's the real banking. So in that controversy, I thought I should convert myself into a little bank for the village. So I finally, after a long process, I got the permission to set up a little bank for the village. And I named it Village Bank because I wanted to do it in one village. But it became so popular, we started expanding and expanding. It worked beautifully. And ultimately, we reached out to all the villages of Bangladesh by that bank. People ask me, how did you design this bank? That people take money and pay you back, and you can comfortably run the business without any trouble. I said, the idea is very simple for me. I'm not a banker. I never wanted to be a banker. That has never crossed my mind. But now that I'm in it, I wanted to learn how it is done. So whenever I need a policy or a system, I look at the conventional banks, how they do it. And all I have to do, once I learn how they do it, I do the reverse. If they go right, I go left. If they go up, I go down. And that's how I did it. How? They go to the rich, I go to the poor. Absolutely opposite. They go to men, I go to women. They never thought of lending money to women of any price, or the poor women, middle class women, rich women, doesn't matter. Banks don't do any business with women in Bangladesh at that time. So I said, look, it's a very funny institution. So I reversed that. Conventional bank want to do business in the cities. I reversed it. I go to the village. They go to the city center, I go to remote village. They want collateral. I said, that's a very funny thing. You want to lend money to poor people, how do they give collateral? They have no collateral. So I reversed it. I said, no collateral. In our business, there's no collateral. So since we don't have collateral, we don't need any lawyers. You will never hear any bank without lawyers. They are filled with lawyers. Everything you do, lawyers have to come, pages and pages. You have to sign every page, and everything you commit have to maintain. I said, forget about all those papers. They don't know what these papers are. So why can't we create a bank without papers, without lawyers? So Grameen Bank that we created is a lawyer-free bank, is a legal document-free bank. Then they say, how do you do that? I said, it's based on trust. They said, it's a very funny thing. You run a bank with a trust. I said, no, ours is not a funny thing. Yours is the funny thing. Because you call it credit. You know, the meaning of credit is trust. You took that idea of trust and created a whole institution based on distrust. You don't trust anybody. That's why you bring the lawyers. We came back, translated the word credit to its meaning as it stands. It's all based on trust. They say, you'll never work. I said, it's working. That you'll fail. I said, the day I fail, I'll let you know that I fail. But until then, I'll believe in it, I'll continue in it. And I continued and expanded. So it became known as microcredit, lending tiny money to the poor people, particularly poor women. And it became popular globally. Now it extended all over the world. Almost every single country in the world has microcredit program, including Saudi Arabia. They did it in a big way in Saudi Arabia to bring microcredit and with a lot of enthusiasm and so on. It started. I was invited to do it in the United States. I was okay. I said, I'll do it. Can be done. No problem with that. I don't see any problem. So we created an institution, an organization in America called Grameen America. And started the same thing, exactly the same thing we do in Bangladesh. It started in 2008 in a small place called Jackson Heights in New York City. And look at the poorest people in New York City. They said there's no poor people in the United States. I said, that's what you do at the top. You are not there, so you don't see poverty. Once you're there, you see it's full of poverty. They don't have any access to any finance, any money, anything. Most of the immigrants don't even qualify to take social money given by the government as a charity money to sustainable money and so on. No, they don't get it. So they became a natural client for us to take money to start a little business on the roadside, selling food items, selling cosmetics and selling some handicrafts and so on, just like the way it is done in Bangladesh. It started in 2008. Today, in 2023, it expanded in 35 major cities in the United States with over 200,000 borrowers, 100% women. This is the first year of all these years we'll be lending out over $1 billion to all these women with perfect repayment record all throughout. And in next 2 years, we'll be lending out over $2 billion a year. And hopefully, again, we'll be maintaining the same record of repayment rate. In 4 years, we'll be crossing the $5 billion a year. So that's how it began and started that. So we challenged the whole banking system. I said, poverty is not created by the poor people. Poverty is created by the system that we built, institution that we built, concept that we created. That is the cause of poverty. We have to redesign those institutions, like the banking system, so that there's nobody is poor. Everybody has the ability to transform their life in their own way, provided the institution is the right way. That's what the microcredit is all about.
Thank you. Thank you. Non-content. Thank you. Non-content of having done that, you came up then with the concept of social business, which is an extension of microcredit. Can you define a bit more what a social business is? Because this is
one thing led to another. It's just natural progress. I had never any plan to create a bank. Never in my life I thought I would be a banker. Now I find myself, people introduce me, oh, here's a banker to the poor. I said, wow, I'm a banker now. Then I raise a question. You call me banker to the poor. I'm proud of it. But if there's a banker here sitting, the managing director or chairman of a big bank in the country, how do you introduce him? You'll say, he's a very successful banker, he's a dawn of banking community, and so on and so forth. I said, that's wrong. If you introduce me as a banker to the poor, you should introduce him as a banker to the rich. But you didn't say that. And that's where we went wrong. You're hiding the fact that he only lends to the rich people. You are telling everybody that I lend money only to the poor people. That's fine. But you have to tell the truth. He lends money only to the rich people. So that's what the distinction is. So everything we do, we're very careful what we are doing. Once you're in the poor people, it's not only income that they lack health. And we work with women. This is an amazing world of the poor women. If you are poor, if you're a woman, all the terrible diseases of the world find you very attractive. They all come to you. You are the depot, you are the concentration of all the diseases. So, and we are working only with women. So we see their conditions, poverty, their people and their children growing as skinny little babies. And immediately wanted to see, how do you address that situation? It's not about giving them the money. How do you do that? One common thing we saw right from the beginning, children grow up. When the nightfall comes, when the sun goes down, children don't see anymore. They go blind. I have never heard of this before. Children going blind after sunset. So I talked to my friends and the doctors, communities, and so on. What is this? Oh, this is a disease. It's called night blindness. Well, exactly defines what the disease is. Night blindness. At night, you become blind. Is there a cure? He said, yeah, it's a very simple cure. I said, what is that simple cure? Tell us, because we work with them. The cure is, it's a deficiency, vitamin A deficiency. And how do you get the vitamin A? Oh, just buy the vitamin A tablets, give it to them. I said, no, we don't want to recommend them to buy tablets and eat. Is there any other solution? Yes, change the food habit. Give them vitamin A-rich vegetables. And there's plenty of vegetables in the country. So we started thinking how to do that. We tried this, we tried that. Then we came out with an idea to encourage them to grow vegetable. They said, we don't have seeds. I said, we'll bring you seeds. So we got the best seed possible from international sources, from local sources, and packaged them with the 1 penny a packet. 1 penny a packet. We made them everything, all vegetable, all the seeds you have, only 1 penny per packet. And people find it so simple. All we say, take this and sprinkle around your house. It will grow. And they took it up. And they started feeding the vegetable to the children. And we are happy that we are selling our seeds, and that means they are interested in it. 1 penny per packet. So our staff, when they go to the villages, work with the women, always carry a bag of seeds so that they can give it. And seed not only remain with the poor people in the village, all the other women also started buying the seed. So our seed business started growing. That was not our intention, but it started growing. As Grameen Bank grew, our seed business grew. It became a company, seed company. All we do is selling vegetable seeds. At one time, we became the largest seller of vegetable seed in the whole country. Largest seed seller in the whole country. We are amazed that nobody else is doing it. We are doing it. And as it happened, the night blindness gradually disappeared from the whole country. Night blindness totally disappeared from the whole country. Today, you go to Bangladesh, you tell people in the villages, do you have night blindness? They will say, what is night blindness? Never heard of it. It became a part of history. Poverty became a part of history. Night blindness became a part of history. We created a business to sell seed, but we are not trying to make money out of it. But we want to cover the cost. That's all. We wanted to save every cost possible so that it becomes cheaper and cheaper, so that people can benefit from it. And then we started healthcare. We started setting up healthcare system in the villages and bring people to receive the healthcare for the people, particularly pregnant mothers. They don't have any attention. Children are born without any attention, just like any other animals who give birth to their babies. Women in Bangladesh delivered baby like that, had no idea what to do with it. And they did things customarily in a way which is harmful to the babies. And it became a custom, but it's harmful. We said, no way, you cannot do that. You have to do, for example, the baby has to be fed with the mother's milk right at the birth, but they throw it away. They say, no, this is dirty milk. I said, that's the best milk possible. Creator has given you the best thing packaged with you so that your children can live. So we had a campaign, and we created healthcare for the babies. We created healthcare for the women and so on. There was no toilet in the country, in the villages particularly, no toilet. People just go out in the open. We said, no way, that has spread the disease. So we created a toilet company to bring toilets in the villages. We give loans by Grameen Bank to buy a toilet and set it up. And the toilet is available right in your village because we produce the toilet in the village. So gradually people started the habit of toilets and so on. And we did it as a business way. Business to cover the costs, but not interested in making profit. Because we wanted to solve the problem. Our entire commitment is to solve the problem. No matter how big the problem is, how to crack it, how to make sure that it's available to people in a way they can afford it. And this is the birth of this idea of social business. So we didn't have a name for it, we keep it a name. It's a business where you don't want to make money. Your only interest is to solve problems. And we call it social business. Defined as a non-dividend company to solve human problems. And that idea has grown, and we created lots of companies. We have more than 50 companies that we created, including telecommunication company, to bring telephone in the hands of women in the village. She never saw a telephone in her life because telephone didn't exist in the country. We said, no, telephone not only will exist, it will come to the poor women first. People say, what do you do? It's not a business. I said, yes, it's a business, but not your kind. It's our kind of business. We want to solve problems. We gave the telephone in the hands of poor women, not for her to call everybody else. We said, sell the service of the telephone. You have a technology which nobody else has. If anybody has to make a phone call, they have to come to you. He may be the richest person in the village, but he doesn't have a telephone because our company never gave him a phone. Our company gave phone only in the hands of poor women, but so that he can come to her to make a phone call or invite her to his house and pay a very big fee for coming there, and she makes money. They became known as telephone lady. Whole country became filled with telephone ladies selling telephone service. But not with the intention of making money for ourselves, making sure women have income, women have technology in their hand, women who never understood what the telephone is, now she is the master of telephone in the village. And if once you have one telephone set in your hand, is the quickest way to get out of poverty because your income just flows in. Everybody wants to make a phone call. Their relatives, their sons working in Saudi Arabia, in the Middle East, no way how to talk. Now you can talk. You just pay me and you talk to otherwise you cannot talk to your son or to talk to your father, your husband, whoever is working in some places in the city or in some international places and so on. So that is the crux. That's the genesis of the whole idea of social business.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Yunus. And so these, of course, this concept developed throughout the world. Today in France only, we have 10% of the employment that is done through social business and social enterprises. This is, it became global movement, and in some countries it has a very important weight. And that's where all this idea of social procurement in sports came from, because you start getting involved with the sport industry, and with Paris 2024, who agreed to start including social business within their value chain. So just for those who do not know, Paris 2024 has a very strong commitment when it comes to social business procurement. Basically, they have a budget of 7 to 8 billion euros to organize the games. All of this money is going to go to pay suppliers of product and services. And the idea of the social procurement effort of Paris 2024 is to see, okay, what do we have in this value chain that could be potentially done by social businesses? How do we maximize the amount of social businesses that can deliver something for the games? And that is, for instance, the catering. You know, you need to provide food for 14,000 athletes during the Olympics. How do you do to actually work with social business catering, which will be supplying, food, but will do it with the support of long-term unemployed people, which will be sourcing locally grown product, and so on and so forth. So you will have the same product, which is the food, but a completely different social value. But in sport, Paris 2024 has done this commitment of 10%. This is amazing. They will want to do 10% of their procurement through that. But 1% is also something that is really important. Like most of the organization, and you say that across the board in all the industries, most organizations should start with 1% on social business. Can you elaborate a bit on that 1% idea?
Yeah. You brought up the whole subject of sports and social business and so on. But I also get our French connections before I come to the sports part of it. While we're kind of campaigning for social business and in Bangladesh, inviting others to participate, there are so many problems in Bangladesh. I said, you can solve this, just initiate a social business, and you can do that. So still initiatives are coming. But never thought some multinational company headquartered in France will become interested in the idea of social business. I was shocked when I get a telephone call from Frank Ribot from Danone. I had no familiarity with the word Danone, because Danone doesn't work in Bangladesh. It works in India, but doesn't work in Bangladesh. I never heard of that. So I was not familiar who this guy is, why is he calling me, who's Danone. His intention was to meet me and have a chat with me. He said, if you are coming to Paris, I'll be very happy to spend a day with you, discuss this, what is the social business that you're doing. I'm very interested. I became very suspicious. I said, he found a way how to make money out of social business. He figured it out, because multinational company means money-making kind of initiative. They have no idea how to help people and so on and so forth. So I kind of imagined this guy's same way. But he was so insistent. Finally, when I was visiting Paris for another conference, we got together and he asked me all sorts of questions what social business is. At the end, his proposal was, can we, Danone, get involved with social business? I was surprised. Does he understand what social business is? There's no money for you in that. It's only solving problem. He said, yeah, I understand that. And I want to be part of it. I know I can do that. So gradually he became more and more interested. I paid a lot of attention. Then he came to Bangladesh to see how it is done. And he said, yes, we'd like to do a joint venture with you. Grameen and Danone joint venture in Bangladesh. What will be the issue that you'll be focusing on? What problem you want to solve? Because every social business has to be designed around a problem, because your intention is to solve the problem. I said, well, there's a lot of malnutrition in Bangladesh. Children are malnourished, always, because the poor people cannot feed them enough food for the children. So I think you can address that. 48% of Bangladeshi children back in 2005, 2006, when we were discussing this, were under poverty line and were malnourished. I said, do something to bring nutrition to the children as a social business. So their entire research team in Danone got busy, what kind of thing they can produce so that they can sell it to the poor people, and it brings nutrition to children. Ultimately, they came out with the idea of creating a special kind of yogurt. to sell to the poor children so that they eat the yogurt. It's a very enjoyable yogurt, and make it very cheap and cover the cost. And they will be able to overcome the malnutrition. How? Because in this particular yogurt for Bangladesh that will produce, we'll put all the micronutrients which are missing in the children. And Danone specialists of taste, they know how to hide the bad taste of all the micronutrients. So they hide the taste and give a beautiful taste which is loved by the children of Bangladesh. They tested out various tastes among the children and found a special taste which every child likes. So put the taste, put the micronutrients, make it in a little cup, cost very little, so that you eat this every day. If you do it for 5 months, 6 months, 7 months, all your deficiency of nutrition is gone. You become a healthy child. You are laughing around, you're jumping around like any other child. You go to the mother, is your yogurt working for the child? I said, I don't know, but it's very difficult to control my child. He's always on top of the tree, he's running around, I can't find him anymore. It's working. Because otherwise the child will be sitting in the corner of the house, crying away, because he doesn't have any strength to do anything. Now the mother finding it very difficult to control the child. I said, that's a good sign that you're controlling. You can't control. Children are not to be controlled. They're having fun with their life and so on. So this is what it did. And when Danone came, another related story to it, I wanted to see how small the cup would be and what would be the cup like. So they brought samples for me, the cup that they will be doing. So I saw this cup looks beautiful because Danone designs everything very beautifully. This is a beautifully designed cup. And I said, it looks like it's made of plastic. He said, yes, it's made of plastic. This is the cheapest material we can get. I said, in social business, plastic is not allowed. They were shocked. Then the cost will rise. I said, I don't know, because I don't want to have anything to do with plastic. So you have to figure out how to bring biodegradable cups. So the whole project was delayed by 6 months because they couldn't find biodegradable cups. And I will not allow plastic in a social business. So they found finally a solution in China. They came out with a material which is biodegradable and very cheap. And they brought it to me and I tested it see how it works. And I said, okay, if you certify that it's biodegradable and you take the responsibility, I'll allow that. So again, it's not simply designing things for solving one problem. You don't want to create another problem. So this is creating another problem, environmental issues and so on. So, and that the cup is designed, and whole Danone was so delighted because after that, they abandoned all plastic materials from their business, the global business. What they were doing, tiny little business in Bangladesh, impacted in the big thing. And they created a fund called Social Business Fund, Danone Communities Fund, to invest in social businesses, whoever is designing social businesses. This is it. But we got into sports thing because as I was explaining that sports has a big power, how to use it, I kept saying that. And the French athletes and their association became very interested in the idea how to use that. That's when the conversation became with Anne Hidalgo and all the leaders of the sports world and so on. Anne Hidalgo is the mayor of Paris. She said, can we do it as a part of the Olympic? I said, not part, the basis of the Olympic, because they were a candidate city at that time in 1916. Was that? 2016, sorry, not that. 2016. In 2016, they were a candidate city. Said, we want to hold the Olympic in Paris. Can we introduce some ideas of social activity? And I said, not some ideas. You have to transform the whole concept of the Olympic itself. So they kept asking what kind of thing they should do. I said, to begin with, I see very simple thing, your Olympic village. You have to build tall towers to accommodate 15,000 or so Olympics athletes who will be staying there. And every Olympic does that. And I saw it in Rio Olympic where I was invited. And I saw big tall buildings. I told the French, I said, why do you have to build tall buildings? After the Olympic is all over, then either you demolish those buildings or you sell it off for a few small amount of money, some construction people or some real estate people who will rent it out and make money out of it. I said, no, that's not the social way of designing an Olympic. What will be the social way? I said, you design that Olympic village not only for the athletes to stay there for 20 days or 25 days during the Olympic, but a permanent use. It's designed for the people who will make permanent. Who are the permanent use? I said, look at the homeless people. I'm sure Paris has a lot of homeless people. I'm sure Paris has a lot of people who cannot afford to pay rent. So too destitute. Why did you build these buildings for the homeless people, for the people who cannot afford rent? And you are holding this whole Olympic in Chandonnay, which is the poorest part of Paris. So you transform that. This is your responsibility. We are spending good money on that. So they came up with that and continue to offer that. So now they have designed this. You'll be visiting Paris during the Olympic. You'll see an entire design of the housing is completely changed. So there will be, when the athletes gone, it will be taken over by the street people, the people who cannot afford rent, and so on. So this is the social direction. Then you talk about the procurement. This is that issue for you. How do you procure? You have normally when you have an Olympic, when you have a big World Cup, World Summit, and so on, you give big contracts to the big companies, and the big companies come and tender and get the contract and build everything. I said, no. It should be addressed to the small companies, people at the bottom, so that they can participate, benefit from your big project that is coming up. So with Olympic, who do we do? I said, there are in the bottom, you have lots of people who are struggling for the tiny business. Give them big businesses for you. Split it up. So that's how it has been done. That's the procurement, because there's a lot of money goes into procurement thing. So besides those Olympic and a big project like that, you have lots of companies that you're associated with. And while I say that, and every company has a procurement division who does all the buys, all the purchases, all the constructions, and so on. So I said, why don't you just spend 1% of that money that you use to go to the bottom people? Give them the business so that they have more opportunities. They will grow up because you support with 1% of your money that you spend on your thing. So we'll be very happy to give you ideas how to make that happen. That's our job. That's what we do, to explain, bring them together, how to make sure you have some social orientation in your business, particularly in the sports world. There are so many contracts coming up. Can you use a percentage, 1% of that cost, 5% of that cost, going into the people who are designing things by hand, painting things by hand, and do it with your quality. There's no compromise on quality, but train them up so that they can participate. This year you help them. Next year, so they're experts on it because they are growing into it. So this is what we are trying to say.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Yunus. So call to action to all of you in the room. The 1% that Professor Yunus is talking about is something that we can definitely start with. Social procurement is not rocket science, and it's actually something that you can do in-house. I will hand over now to Natalie. Thank you very much, Professor Yunus, for your presence. And thank you to all the participants.